200 years ago, a revolutionary movement swept across South America.
In a series of bloody conflicts between 1810 and 1825, Spanish rule was thrown out of South America.
We have come here to London to investigate the legacy of those conflicts.
Our story begins with this man, Christopher Columbus, who in 1492 sailed west from Spain in the hope of discovering a new trade route to India.
What he found, of course, was not India, but the New World, the Americas. Spain laid claim to this new land and by 1800 controlled virtually all of South and Central America, apart from the far south and Brazil, which was colonialised by the Portuguese. But in 1800 all was not well in Spanish America. Leading subjects from Spain's colonies began to agitate for independence. When Spain tried to silence them, they went to Europe.
This house belonged to Francisco de Miranda, a Venezuelan patron. From here he was able to lobby British politicians and he kept correspondence with contacts right across South America.
He also founded the Lautaro Lodge, a group of Freemasons dedicated to the independence of South America, that included a small number of Britons, such as Lord James Macduff. One of the earliest members of the Lautaro Lodge was Bernardo O'Higgins.
A teenager from Chile of Irish ancestry. He was one of the first students who came here to study at Clarence Pass.
Nobody knew it yet, but this young student, initiated into the ideas of Spanish-American independence here in London, was to play a big role in the future of his country.
Miranda had some other successes. He gained support for an attempt to free Venezuela in 1806 and was even awarded a pension by the British government for his work agitating against Spain. It seemed that he had achieved his greatest success when, in 1807, plans were drawn up for a British liberating expedition to South America of 100,000 men by Arthur Wellesley, the future Duke of Wellington.
But the liberating mission never happened, and to explain why, we've come to what became the Duke's home, Apsley House. What dominates the house is what became to dominate politics, the fight against Napoleon. The troops intended for South America were redirected to support the Spanish resistance movement against France, and it was not the great general, the Duke of Wellington, that would be tasked with dealing with South America, but his older brother, the diplomat, then Foreign Secretary Richard Wellesley, who lived in the same house between 1807 and 1817, and wanted not to fight for South American liberty, but to talk about it.
In July 1810, three men arrived in London from the Venezuelan capital, Caracas, bringing important news. The people of the province had thrown out the governor representing the Spanish Regency. Britain's new ally had taken government into their own hands, and now they requested British help in maintaining independence.
The most famous of them, Simon Bolivar, lodged at this house, where he's commemorated with this blue plaque.
His companion, Andres Bello, stayed with General Miranda, and he is also commemorated with a plaque there.
Unable to meet his allies' rebels at the Foreign Office, Richard Wellesley met the Venezuelans here, at his private residence, Apsley House.
Though they met several times, Britain could lend no official support to the independent colony while the war against Napoleon hung in the balance, and the diplomats left with no firm commitment but an impression of British sympathy.
Both Bolivar and General Miranda left independent Venezuela later that year.
Meanwhile, in Spain, another champion of South American liberty was just being recruited. Lord Macduff, a member of Miranda's Lautaro Lodge, was fighting under Arthur Wellesley when, in 1811, he met José de San Martin, an Argentine fighting for Spain. Macduff introduced San Martin to the independence movement, and he was instantly taken by the idea. He requested leave from the Spanish army and a passport to London.
San Martin stayed here for almost a year, where he became involved in the activities of the Lautaro Lodge and was introduced to the Maitland Plan for a British expedition to liberate South America.
In 1812, San Martin left for Argentina aboard a British frigate and found Argentina already in revolt against Spain. Within a year of his arrival, San Martin had risen to the rank of general within the revolution, making great use of the military tactics and discipline he had learnt during the Peninsular War. By January 1814, San Martin was effectively commander of the revolution's military forces in southern Spanish America.
The
same crisis of power in Spain that sparked the Venezuelan and Argentine independence movements had an effect in Chile.
Bernardo O'Higgins, a student that Miranda had convinced of the need of independence, was right in the centre of it.
Bravery marked him out in battle in 1814, and by 1817 he was at the head of the Chilean army, which joined with San Martin to defeat the Spanish at the Battle of Chacabuco.
Later that year, O'Higgins, a former schoolboy at Clarence House, became the supreme dictator of Chile.
In 1815, Napoleon had been defeated, and Britain no longer had to be tied to a Spanish alliance against France.
Britain could once more cautiously favour South American independence, which it was hoped would bring great trading opportunities.
Andres Bello, who had accompanied Bolivar to London, took over Miranda's residence, and it continued to be a beacon of South American independence. Indeed, it has been described as the most historic Venezuelan site outside of Venezuela. After Napoleon's defeat, this house became a recruiting centre where British volunteers signed up in their thousands to fight under Bolivar, who had by now come to dominate the revolution in northern Spanish America. For Spanish-American independence and the promise of riches, soldiers to whom Bolivar attributed the liberty of this nation.
Appropriately, this house and its co-joining it have been owned since 1978 by the Venezuelan government and now function as a consulate and a cultural centre.
The Argentine embassy is now literally just around the corner from the rooms where the national liberator, San Martin, stayed while he met and discussed independence from Spain in the safety of London. Just up the river of here, O'Higgins is commemorated with a bust near Richmond Bridge. Wreaths are still laid there each year by local residents and staff of the Chilean embassy on the anniversary of Chilean independence.
Meanwhile, the Portuguese embassy and the Spanish embassy sit uneasily close to statues of both Simon Bolivar and José de San Martin across one of London's most exclusive squares.
To most passers-by, these statues are either unrelated or complementary. In actual fact, nothing could be further from what they represent, and there could be no more powerful metaphor for the way that British diplomats played the interests of each side against one another behind a mask of civility than these peaceful surroundings here in Belgrave Square. Bolivar and General Miranda.
O'Higgins, the former schoolboy at Clarence House, later became the supreme dictator of Chile.
Liberator, San Martin stayed in the comfort of London.
Unable to make